Thank you for joining us on Business Incorporated. Welcome. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. On the show today, MTN Ghana starts trading on the stock exchange today. Modi says Mozambique's private creditors face substantial losses. Plus, Ivory Coast cashew sales slump on low world prices. Let's get the show started now with the markets. And today's trading day in Africa saw most of the major markets in the red at intraday. The Nigerian stock index was down 0.08%, led by the insurance sector. The JSE index continues its free fall, down 0.75%, after the country was reported to have entered into a recession. Egypt's EGX 30 index was majorly hit, down 1.13%, and Kenya closed in the green on Tuesday. And in the Middle East, the sentiment was also low as most of the market shed some weight at intraday except the Qatari market. The Qatar stock market was in the green by 0.10%. Saudi led losses by 1.80%, followed by Abu Dhabi, which lost 1.12%. Dubai was down 0.66%. And in Europe, stocks were lower in morning trade as renewed concerns over international trade conflicts hampered investors' appetite for riskier assets. Let's cross over now to Frankfurt for details from my colleague there, Ulrich Batz. Hello, Ulrich. Welcome again to the show.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good afternoon, Ulrich. Now, market focus is largely tuned to global trade developments with discussions between Canada and the U.S. expected to resume today. Is a common ground likely between both countries, and would it make investors less jittery?
I think it would make investors a lot less jittery if the United States and Canada came to an agreement. But, you know, looking at the roles of the U.S. President and the Canadian Prime Minister, they're at odds at the moment with one another, and they're packing out strong rhetoric, making their case specifically. And I think investors are looking at, especially this time, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who says that no deal in this case is better than a bad deal for Canadians, as he says. And that sounds very serious. I don't think anybody really is thinking that the Canadians will go off by themselves in the end and leave U.S. and Mexico to trade favorably with one another, because it means so much to the Canadian economy to have favorable trading conditions with the Americans. It's by far Canada's biggest partner. 3/4 of trade are done with the United States, and it's an important selling point for lots of Canadian wares, especially for resources, for raw materials.
Okay, let's look at some emerging markets, currencies, which keeps tumbling and extending to equities now. Is the market overreacting to these contagion concerns?
It's hard to say whether it's an overreaction, but it's a reaction that one sees often when one country or one company gets into trouble. You see this on the corporate side, too. If one telecom company has a bad report, then all are thrown into the same barrel, and investors take flight and look for another industry to take their money to, or maybe leave equities altogether and go into bonds. It's a little bit similar this time, but of course there's much more at stake with Indonesia, with South Africa, with Turkey, with Argentina under fire, India's rupee also being affected. And there's a case to be made in each of these countries that there are reasons for investors now to look at this situation and say they're worried. It's coming so suddenly, though, so that contagion certainly is the word. It's hard to see, though, where this is going, whether there's an overreaction already or perhaps still yet to come.
And some corporates now, two big techies, Facebook and Twitter, are appearing before the congressional hearings today on the Capitol. Are investors nervous about this?
I think they're going to look at it very closely because they know how powerful Congress is, but it's also clear ahead of the hearings that there's politicking involved as well. When people say, you know, clean up your act and make sure that you're treating the Trump presidency fairly, that it being addressed to Twitter, for example, and both Facebook and Twitter have said that they have improved things since they were made culpable in the Russians influencing the U.S. election. So I think the companies, at least they're saying they've made some progress. We'll have to see in the hearings whether they can make that plausible and whether the congressmen actually believe that, congressmen and women. But investors are not that nervous that the shares would be tanking. They're going down in pre-U.S. trading here in European trading, but not by all that much.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Ulrich. Enjoy the rest of the day.